The rasp of metal against stone filled the garage, soft, rhythmic, almost patient. I didn't realize she was watching until I looked up and caught the shape of her reflection in the dusty window. "Still at it?" she asked. Her voice had that kind of ease that didn't match the question, a voice that already knew the answer. I turned. She stood in the doorway, framed by the late light. The same sun that hit the edge of my blade caught the faint silver in her hair. Her name was Elise, my mother's oldest friend, though she looked nothing like the word oldest sounded. "Just keeping them sharp," I said. The line sounded thin the moment I said it. She smiled. Not full, not open, but something smaller, hidden at the corners. "I used to love that sound," she murmured, stepping closer. "My father would do the same thing every Sunday. I'd sit on the porch and listen. I don't know why I remembered that now." She stood beside the workbench, fingers grazing the edge, careful not to touch the steel. I could smell her perfume, something faintly floral that didn't belong in this rough, wooden place. "It's a good sound," I said. She answered. "It's steady. You always were. That one caught me. Always were." She said it like we'd been speaking for years, not months. She picked up a piece of sandpaper, ran her thumb across it, testing its grit. Her nails were neatly kept, a pale shade of pink. "Your hands are steadier than your father's," she said softly. I wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a memory, maybe both. When I didn't answer, she glanced at me, long enough for me to feel it. Then she looked away, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear with that careful, practiced motion I'd started to recognize. The gesture said she was thinking too much. "I didn't know you'd still be here," I said. "I didn't know I'd stop by," she replied. "I was passing through. Your mother mentioned you'd been working out back again." The air shifted with her words. Passing through. But she wasn't leaving yet. She leaned against the bench, close enough that her sleeve brushed my arm. The light outside was turning amber, and I could see a small scar on her wrist, one I hadn't noticed before. "How's your mother?" she asked. "She's fine." Silence. The kind that stretches too long. Then, "You're quieter these days," she said almost gently. "I guess you'd notice." "I do." The file slipped in my grip and scraped the wrong way across the blade. A sharp noise, quick and ugly. She flinched, barely, then smiled again, smaller this time. "You ruined the rhythm." "Guess I did." Her eyes lingered on my face, on something she wasn't supposed to look at for that long. And for a second, I thought she might say something real, something that had been sitting behind her tongue since before she walked in. But she didn't. Instead, she stepped back. The distance was immediate, physical, almost cold. "I should go," she said, though she didn't move toward the door. "Yeah." She hesitated. The faint sound of wind pushed through the half-open window. Her hand lifted, like she might touch my shoulder, but stopped midway. "Keep them sharp," she said quietly. "You never know when you'll need them." And then, from inside the house, a voice calling her name. She looked toward it, then back at me, the smallest flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. "Guess that's me," she whispered. The sound of her heels faded down the hall. The blade in my hand caught the light again. Too bright, too clean, and for some reason, I didn't move. She came back 2 days later, carrying a tray of lemon cake and the kind of smile that hides too much behind it. My mother was out, something about errands, which made it feel planned, even if it wasn't. "I didn't bake it," she said, setting the tray down on the workbench. "Don't give me too much credit." "I wasn't going to." Her laugh was quiet, quick, like she was reminding herself not to enjoy it too much. "You've learned sarcasm," she said. "Good. Keeps you from sounding too polite." I watched her brush crumbs off her hands. There was a ring mark where one used to be. I'd noticed it before but never said anything. She'd been divorced almost 10 years. My mother used to say Elise chose to be alone now, but she never said it like it was a good thing. I took a piece of cake, though I wasn't hungry. "You didn't have to bring this." "I know," she said, "but I missed the sound." I froze. She said it again, missed the sound. The same words from before, only now they carried something else. Not nostalgia. Not memory. More like a secret. She stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair off her neck. Her perfume was stronger today. Faint citrus, a trace of something woody underneath. It clung to the air around her, made me want to breathe slower. "You work too quietly," she said, her voice barely above the hum of the fan. "You used to talk more." "That was before," I said. "Before what?" I didn't answer. She tilted her head. "You've changed." "So have you." She smiled faintly at that, but it didn't last. The silence stretched again, heavy enough to notice every sound. The ticking clock, the squeak of my glove when I adjusted my grip, her slow inhale. "You know what people would say," she murmured suddenly, eyes still on the knife. "I don't care what people say." "I think you do." She looked up, met my eyes. "You're still too young to pretend you don't." Something in me pulled tight at the word young. I hated how it sounded from her mouth. Gentle, dismissive, true. She reached out then, brushing the back of her hand against my arm like she was testing the distance between us. "You should be out with someone your own age," she said softly. Could have stepped back. I didn't. Instead, I felt her fingers linger, a second too long, before she pulled them away. "You make that sound again," she said, nodding toward the blade. "What sound?" "The one that makes the world feel steady." The rasp started again. Metal and stone, rough and steady. She stood beside me, watching every movement. When I looked up, her face was closer than I expected. Eyes following my hands like she was tracing something she wasn't supposed to touch. I slowed down without meaning to. The air between us felt warm. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You're too careful." "Maybe I should be." She almost smiled. "Maybe not always." Then her phone buzzed, the sharp, ordinary sound cutting through the moment. She stepped back, reached into her pocket, didn't answer. When she looked up again, her expression was different, more cautious, like she'd remembered the world outside the garage. "I should go," she said, but she didn't move yet. Instead, she reached out once more, resting her hand on my shoulder. A pause long enough to feel the weight of it. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "You really do have steady hands." And before I could say anything, she was gone, leaving the faint scent of lemon and something heavier behind. Part 3. The sound between them. The rain started before noon, hard, steady, trapping her car in the driveway. She stood in the garage doorway again, arms folded, wet hair clinging to her cheek. "Guess I'm stuck here for a while," she said, half smiling. I wiped my hands on a rag. "Could be worse." "Could it?" she teased, stepping inside. Water beaded down her jacket. She set her phone on the bench, the screen lighting up once, twice, Mom flashing across it. She turned it face down. The air was damp, metallic, full of the smell of rain and oil. She leaned against the counter beside me, watching the water drip off her sleeve. "I shouldn't be here," she said softly. "You already are." She gave me a look, the kind that carries a dozen warnings but no exit. "You really don't make this easy." "I'm not trying to." Her breath caught just slightly. "You remind me of someone I used to know," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "That a good thing?" "Not sure," she admitted, shaking her head with a quiet laugh. "He used to look at me the way you do." "How's that?" "Like you're not supposed to." Silence. The rain hit the roof harder, almost loud enough to fill the space between us. She reached for her phone, maybe to change the subject, but her hand brushed mine instead. It wasn't even a full touch, just the side of her fingers, cold from the rain. Still, it stopped both of us. I didn't move my hand. Neither did she. "Someone might come by," she whispered. "No one's coming." She hesitated, eyes darting toward the open door, then back to me. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to say something but couldn't find the right words. Then footsteps. From the house. We both turned. My mother's voice floated faintly through the rain. "Elise? Are you still here?" Elise froze, then stepped back fast, knocking into the stool behind her. The metal clatter felt too loud. I was just helping him clean up, she called, forcing lightness into her voice. I wiped the blade down, trying to look casual. Mom's head appeared in the doorway. You two have been out here forever, she said. You'll catch cold. We're fine, Elise said. Mom looked between us, her brow faintly creasing. Then she smiled, too easily, and disappeared back inside. The silence that followed was heavier than before. Elise exhaled slowly, pressing a hand to her chest. God, she whispered. That was close. I turned toward her, half a smile tugging at my mouth. Almost like we're doing something wrong. Her eyes flicked up. Aren't we? The words hit harder than I expected. She took a step closer, her voice lowering. You don't understand what this would look like. Me here with you. I don't care how it looks. You should, she said, but she didn't move away. The rain softened outside. The air felt charged again, the way it always did before something either broke or began. Her gaze dropped to my mouth. I felt her breath before I felt her hand. Fingers grazing my wrist, tentative but certain. Elise, I said quietly. She didn't answer. Her hand slid up my forearm, slow, careful. I could feel her pulse, quick, uneven. Then the phone on the bench buzzed again. A sharp, ordinary sound. She froze. Her thumb brushed against my skin once more, as if to memorize it. Then she stepped back, one breath, too. Her eyes found mine. We shouldn't, she said. I nodded. But we will. She didn't argue. For a long moment we stood there, rain dripping from the edge of the roof, our hands inches apart. Close enough to feel the heat, far enough to still pretend restraint. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled like rain. Wetwood, metal, and something faintly sweet from her perfume that had soaked into the space. She came by again, this time without an excuse. No cake, no errands. Just her. I was driving past, she said. Saw your light was on. I didn't point out that no one drives past this late. She stepped in, shut the door behind her, and leaned against it like she needed the barrier at her back. For a while, neither of us spoke. The quiet wasn't comfortable anymore. It was thick, full of everything we hadn't said. You've been avoiding me, I said finally. Her eyes flicked toward me, guarded. That's not true. It is, she sighed, looking away. Because this, whatever this is, it's dangerous. For who? For me. The words came out sharp, honest. People talk. They always have. You don't know what that's like at my age. I don't care what people think. You should. She crossed her arms, but it wasn't defensive. More like she was holding herself still. I stepped closer, slow enough to give her the chance to stop me. She didn't. You keep saying that, I said, voice low. But you keep coming back. Her breath caught. Because you make it hard not to. That stopped me cold. Her hands were trembling, just a little, when she brushed her hair back from her face. I reached up before I could think. Fingers finding the strand that had slipped loose. She didn't pull away. My hand lingered at her jaw, the edge of her skin warm, soft. Elise, I said, my voice almost breaking her name in half. She closed her eyes. Don't. But her body leaned in, betraying her. The silence between us hummed. I could feel her breath against my throat, her heartbeat close enough to count. This can't happen, she whispered, the words trembling against my skin. Then tell me to stop. She didn't. Instead, she opened her eyes, and everything inside them was contradiction. Fear, want, something deeper that looked almost like regret. I shouldn't want this, she said. Then why do you? She shook her head, smiling just barely, like she hated herself for it. Because you look at me like I'm still. She stopped. Still what? Still someone worth looking at. Her voice cracked on the last word. I moved closer, close enough that her perfume blurred into the smell of metal and rain, close enough that every nerve in my arm screamed not to touch her. Her hand lifted, slow, uncertain, until her fingers brushed my collarbone. I felt her exhale when she did. Elise, I whispered again. She looked up at me, eyes wide, pulse visible in her throat. Then the sound of tires. a car crunching gravel outside. Headlights swept across the garage window. We froze. Her hand dropped. My heart didn't. She stepped back, breathing hard, whispering, "You have no idea how close that was." "Maybe next time I won't stop," I said. She met my gaze, and for once, didn't look away. Then the headlights vanished, and in the thin dark between us, everything felt seconds away from breaking. The next morning, everything felt off. The air heavier, the house too quiet. I was fixing the latch on the back gate when my mother appeared, holding her phone like a loaded secret. "You've been spending a lot of time out there," she said, eyes sharp. "With Elise." I froze. "She helps me sometimes." She mentioned that. My mother's tone was too even. "She also mentioned you've been distracted." There was something in her look that made the back of my neck prickle. "What are you trying to say?" She hesitated, studying me. "Just be careful. She's been through a lot." I wanted to ask how much but didn't. She turned away before I could say anything else. When I went back to the garage, Elise was already there, sitting on the stool, staring at the knife I'd left half-finished. She didn't look up right away. "Your mother called me this morning," she said finally. Her voice was low, calm, too controlled. My stomach dropped. "What did she say?" "She asked if I was okay. That's all." Elise looked at me then, really looked. "She said she worries about you, that you get attached easily." I exhaled hard. She had no right to. She's right. The words cut through everything. She stood, taking a slow step closer. "You do get attached. And I should have known better than to let it happen." "That's not fair," I said. "No," she said softly, shaking her head. "It's not. None of this is." I stepped forward, stopping just short of her. "Then why do you keep coming back?" Her throat tightened. "Because I wanted to hear it again." "What?" "That sound." She smiled, small, sad. "The sharpening. It's steady. It's something I don't have anymore." She turned away, hand brushing her face. I saw it then, the faint shimmer of tears she wouldn't let fall. "Elise, do you know why I left my husband?" She interrupted, voice raw now. "He stopped noticing me. I could stand right in front of him, and it was like I wasn't there. And now you—" She stopped herself, pressing a palm to the bench, breathing unevenly. "And now me what? You look at me like you see everything I've tried to hide." The words hung between us. I moved closer, unable to stop myself. My hand hovered near her shoulder, not touching, just near enough to feel the heat radiating off her skin. "Maybe that's not a bad thing." She turned, fast, too close, her breath brushing my jaw. "It is," she whispered, "because I don't know how to stop wanting that." For a second, neither of us breathed. The space between us thinned until I could feel her trembling, her hands clenched tight at her sides. Then she stepped past me, almost brushing my chest, and grabbed her coat. "We have to stop," she said, voice shaking, "before someone gets hurt." I caught her wrist before she could reach the door. Too late. She froze. Outside, the wind caught the half-open window, slamming it shut with a sharp metallic snap. The kind of sound that makes you realize there's no going back. Part 5. What was never said. The next morning, everything felt off. The air heavier, the house too quiet. I was fixing the latch on the back gate when my mother appeared, holding her phone like a loaded secret. "You've been spending a lot of time out there," she said, eyes sharp. "With Elise." I froze. "She helps me sometimes." She mentioned that. My mother's tone was too even. "She also mentioned you've been distracted." There was something in her look that made the back of my neck prickle. "What are you trying to say?" She hesitated, studying me. "Just be careful. She's been through a lot." I wanted to ask how much but didn't. She turned away before I could say anything else. When I went back to the garage, Elise was already there, sitting on the stool, staring at the knife I'd left half-finished. She didn't look up right away. "Your mother called me this morning," she said finally. Her voice was low, calm, too controlled. My stomach dropped. "What did she say?" She asked if I was okay. That's all. Elise looked at me then, really looked. She said she worries about you, that you get attached easily. I exhaled hard. She had no right to. She's right. The words cut through everything. She stood, taking a slow step closer. You do get attached. And I should have known better than to let it happen. That's not fair, I said. No, she said softly, shaking her head. It's not. None of this is. I stepped forward, stopping just short of her. Then why do you keep coming back? Her throat tightened. Because I wanted to hear it again. What? That sound. She smiled, small, sad. The sharpening. It's steady. It's something I don't have anymore. She turned away, hand brushing her face. I saw it then, the faint shimmer of tears she wouldn't let fall. Elise, do you know why I left my husband? She interrupted, voice raw now. He stopped noticing me. I could stand right in front of him, and it was like I wasn't there. And now you? She stopped herself, pressing a palm to the bench, breathing unevenly. And now me what? You look at me like you see everything I've tried to hide. The words hung between us. I moved closer, unable to stop myself. My hand hovered near her shoulder, not touching, just near enough to feel the heat radiating off her skin. Maybe that's not a bad thing. She turned, fast, too close, her breath brushing my jaw. It is, she whispered, because I don't know how to stop wanting that. For a second, neither of us breathed. The space between us thinned until I could feel her trembling, her hands clenched tight at her sides. Then she stepped past me, almost brushing my chest, and grabbed her coat. We have to stop, she said, voice shaking, before someone gets hurt. I caught her wrist before she could reach the door. Too late. She froze. Outside, the wind caught the half-open window, slamming it shut with a sharp metallic snap. The kind of sound that makes you realize there's no going back. It happened at dusk. The world outside was washed in gold, the air still and waiting. Elise showed up without warning again. But this time there was no excuse, no pretense of errands or coffee or cake. She stood in the doorway of the garage, one hand gripping the frame like she needed it to steady herself. Her eyes found mine right away. We can't keep doing this, she said. But her voice didn't sound sure. I know, I said. Then why are you here? She closed the door behind her and took a slow step in. Because I didn't like the way we left it. You mean the part where you said we had to stop? She nodded faintly. And the part where I almost believed it. The light hit her hair just right, catching silver and gold all at once. She looked tired, beautiful, terrified. I could hear her breathing, small, uneven sounds that didn't match the calm words she was trying to say. I told myself I was coming to apologize, she whispered. But that's not why I came. Then why? Her eyes flicked down, then back up, a soft tremor in her jaw. Because I couldn't stop thinking about your hands. The words landed like a jolt. Neither of us moved. She took another step, close enough that her scent filled the air between us. I could feel the heat of her body even before she stopped. Elise, don't say my name like that, she said quickly, breath catching. It makes it worse. I didn't mean to move closer, but I did, until there was barely an inch between us. My hand hovered near her cheek, waiting, asking. She didn't pull away. Her eyes closed, just for a second, and in that second everything we'd been holding back, the months of pauses, of half-finished sentences, pressed into the space between us. She reached up, fingers finding the collar of my shirt, clutching it like she was holding herself still. This is the line, she said. I know. Once we cross it, there's no going back, I finished. Her lips trembled into the smallest smile. You make it sound like a choice. It is. Her breath brushed against my mouth. One heartbeat. Two. Then she leaned in, just enough for her forehead to touch mine. We stood like that, caught between restraint and gravity, until she whispered, Tell me you'll forget this. I can't. She exhaled, a quiet, broken sound that carried both defeat and relief. Her hand slid down my arm, slow, lingering. When her fingers found mine, they stayed there. Not grasping, just resting. "I wanted to feel seen again," she said softly. "And you made me remember what that felt like." I swallowed hard. "And now," she pulled back just enough to look at me. "Now I have to learn how to let that go." The words cut clean, honest. But she didn't move. Not yet. For a long moment we stayed there, close enough to feel everything, far enough to know it had to end. Then, finally, she stepped away, whispering, "Don't follow me." And this time I didn't. But as the door closed behind her, the sound of it, low, final, felt like the softest thing I'd ever heard. And in that quiet, I finally understood what she meant. Sometimes love isn't about having someone. It's about knowing you could have and choosing not to ruin it. Part 7. The quiet after ***. Weeks passed before I saw her again. The garage stayed clean, the tools untouched, the air too still. I kept expecting the door to open, to hear that voice, calm, steady, always carrying more than it said. But it didn't. Until one evening, it did. I turned, and there she was. No pretense this time, no storm, no cake, no excuse. Just Elise. "Didn't think I'd see you again," I said. "I didn't either," she answered. "But I was driving past." We both smiled, small, real ones this time. She stepped inside. The same scent followed her, faint and familiar, grounding. She looked around the space, tracing the dust on the table, the neat line of blades I hadn't touched in weeks. "You stopped sharpening," she said. "Didn't feel right without you here." She nodded slowly, taking it in. "I thought a lot about what happened," she said after a moment. "About how close we got. About what it meant. And I was scared," she said, honest, quiet. "Not because of you. Because of what it made me remember, being wanted, being seen again. I forgot how that felt." She came closer, slow but certain. "But I also realized, I don't want to be afraid of something that feels alive. Not anymore." The distance between us disappeared without either of us deciding it. Her hand brushed mine. Once, soft, intentional. My breath caught, but I didn't move. She looked up, searching my face. "This isn't about age," she said. "Or people. Or rules. It's just us. Whatever that means." I nodded. "I don't care what anyone thinks." Her smile was faint but warm. "You will someday," she said. "But maybe by then it won't matter." The air felt different now. Not electric, not dangerous, just calm. She stepped close enough for our shoulders to touch, the kind of closeness that didn't need hiding. "I missed this," I said. "What part?" "This quiet." She leaned her head lightly against my shoulder. "It's a good sound," she murmured. We stood there for a while. No words, no rush. The hum of the evening filling the gaps where all the tension used to live. Her hand found mine again, fingers weaving through like it was the most natural thing in the world. No grand declarations, no perfect timing. Just a shared stillness that felt like truth. As the light dimmed, I turned slightly and pressed a slow kiss to her forehead. Nothing dramatic, just steady, certain. She closed her eyes, exhaling against me like she'd been holding her breath for years. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft enough to almost disappear. "Keep them sharp," I smiled. "Always." Outside, the first crickets began to sing, and the night folded around us. Quiet, kind, new. And for once, neither of us felt like we had to leave. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? ***.